Q5664. Which type of approach and landing is recommended during gusty wind conditions? A. A power-on approach and power-on landing. B. A power-off approach and power-on landing. C. A power-on approach and power-off landing. The correct answer is A. During gusty wind conditions, it is recommended to use a power-on approach and power-on landing. This will allow the pilot to maintain control of the aircraft and make adjustments as needed to compensate for the gusts. A power-on approach is one in which the engine is at a higher power setting than it would be for a normal approach. This allows the pilot to maintain a higher airspeed, which makes it easier to control the aircraft in gusty conditions. A power-on landing is one in which the engine is at a higher power setting than it would be for a normal landing. This allows the pilot to maintain a higher airspeed as they touch down, which helps to cushion the landing and prevent the aircraft from bouncing. 5665. A proper crosswind landing on a runway requires that, at the moment of touchdown, the A. Direction of motion of the airplane and its lateral axis be perpendicular to the runway. B. Direction of motion of the airplane and its longitudinal axis be parallel to the runway. C. Downwind wing be lowered sufficiently to eliminate the tendency for the airplane to drift. The correct answer is B. Skidding will occur if the direction of motion and longitudinal axis are not parallel to the runway, perhaps resulting in aircraft damage. 5614. What effect does an uphill runway slope have on takeoff performance? A. Increases takeoff speed. B. Increases takeoff distance. C. Decreases takeoff distance. The correct answer is B. An uphill runway slope increases the amount of ground friction that the aircraft has to overcome in order to accelerate to takeoff speed. This increased ground friction requires the aircraft to accelerate for a longer distance before it can reach takeoff speed. The amount of increase in takeoff distance will depend on the degree of the runway slope. A 1% slope will increase takeoff distance by approximately 1.7%. For example, a 2% uphill slope will increase takeoff distance by approximately 3.4%. Takeoff considerations. When taking off from an uphill runway, pilots should use a higher takeoff speed. The higher takeoff speed will help the aircraft to overcome the increased ground friction and accelerate to takeoff speed in a shorter distance. Be prepared for a longer takeoff run. The pilot should be prepared for a longer takeoff run in case the aircraft does not reach takeoff speed in the available runway length. Use caution. Pilots should use caution when taking off from an uphill runway and be aware of the increased takeoff distance requirements. 5614-1. When conducting a go-around, the pilot must be aware that A. Radio communications are key to alerting other aircraft in the pattern that a go-around maneuver is being conducted. B. The airplane is trimmed for a power-off condition, and application of takeoff power will cause the nose to rise rapidly. C. Flaps should be raised as quickly as possible to reduce drag and increase airspeed for a successful go-around. The correct answer is B. To maintain straight flight and a safe climb attitude when takeoff power is delivered, it is typically essential to retain substantial pressure on the controls. Application of the maximum permissible power necessitates a significant amount of control pressure in order to maintain a constant pitch attitude since the air is trimmed for the approach, a low power and low airspeed situation. The aircraft's nose tends to rise abruptly when more power is added, and it veers to the left. 5208. At higher elevation airports, the pilot should know that indicated airspeed A. will be unchanged, but ground speed will be faster. B. will be higher, but ground speed will be unchanged. C. should be increased to compensate for the thinner air. The correct answer is A. The indicated airspeed of an aircraft landing at an altitude will be the same as that at sea level, but the real airspeed will be higher due to the lower air density. The ground speed will be higher if the real airspeed is higher.